It's not like the immune system in my body is its own entity. Everything else I do affects that one part of my body. We also look at the world and ourselves through what we can detect through our senses. So what I can see, what reflects light. I only understand things exist if they reflect light and I can see them. But we know through other instruments of measure that there are many things that exist that we can't see. And even the processes in our bodies, we can't see them. And some are so microscopic that they're too small for us to detect, or even detect with our senses or with our eyes. But we've got to understand that our body's not just this physical part that we can see. It's actually vibrating matter. So we're going to go a little bit deeper now. We are made up of all these components of our body and of 57 trillion cells. So we're about, depending on your size, it changes, but we're about 57 trillion cells. And inside those cells are molecules. And there's at least 2 molecules in each cell. But inside each cell, in each molecule, there are 1 trillion atoms. Now, atoms are little tiny batteries. They have a positively charged center and a negative exterior. So there's a nucleus, there's positive charge, and electrons bouncing around that are negatively charged. And that's a vibration. It's in everything in our earth, living or dead. In rocks, there's atoms. In the air, there are atoms. In our bodies, in every cell, there are atoms. So we are this vibration of we're a vibrating atomic nature. Now, if that vibration goes down, we are suppressed. So we want to keep a very high vibration, and that's going to strengthen our ability to deal with whatever comes to us. There are things that are not tangible, that don't exist in the way that we can detect them, that affect us. And we've spoken about a couple in this series, but they're things like stress. We know stress massively affects the immune system, but stress doesn't exist anywhere tangible. We know it exists because we experience it. We experience it through the chemicals our bodies release. But even in the medical world, we know the immune system is suppressed by stress. So if you think about something like shingles, shingles is something that most people carry. If they've had chickenpox, you carry that aspect. If your immune system goes down, if you get stressed, which then dampens the immune system, it can't hold back the virus, and you get the shingles. So we know very well that that's suppressed. So we not only need to boost it and supplement our bodies, we also need to stop overtaxing it and it being detrimental. So there's another very important aspect of our health, which is homeostatic capacity. Homeostasis is when the body's in complete balance. The body temperature is exactly right, the mineral balance is there, everything's functioning, your hydration, that's where the body's always trying to get to. And if we're not in homeostasis, the body sends us signals. So if we're dehydrated, you'll get a feeling that you want to hydrate. If you are taxing yourself expending too much energy, your body will want to rest or sleep. You know, if we get into environments that we're not used to, the body will send us signals to get out of them. It could be cold or heat. That's the body trying to get back into homeostasis. Now, homeostatic capacity is how far you can take your body from homeostasis and it can correct itself. So if here's homeostasis and I can challenge myself and push away from homeostasis and my body can bring it back, that's the capacity it has to go from homeostasis. This is so important to our health and to our lives. Our lives end when our body leaves homeostasis and cannot correct itself by disease, virus, whatever it is, heart attacks, all that is when the body can't come back. So we end up dying. But if we load that homeostatic capacity and we challenge it in a very safe and healthy way, our bodies get stronger and more resilient. And that's what immune system's about. It's really about being resilient. And I'll give you a few things at the end that you can take to supplement. But what you want to think about is challenging your system. We had the ideology for so long about resting the body. You know, there's even some people who talk about that we have a limited amount of energy and we want to rest and recover. The governmental system we live by actually promotes that idea that we're going to work and you utilize all this energy and then we'll retire, and whatever energy is left we can actually start living our lives. But it doesn't actually work like that. Our body constantly regenerates energy, and the more you challenge it, the more efficient it gets at that. So you want to do things to challenge your homeostasis, things like environmental changes. So cold exposure, heat exposure, altitude, depths, breath holds, all these things challenge us and make us more robust. Exercise is another one. So exercise, we're challenging so many systems, the musculoskeletal system, the circulatory system. All these systems contribute to the ability of the immune system. And we have two immune systems, but I won't get into it too much today, but there's the innate and the adaptive immune systems. And they're both a little bit different. But all you need to know is that the immune system is the body's defense system to expel foreign bodies that are detrimental to our health. Remember, any questions to put them in to the question there. I'll try and get them if they're in the comment. I see one already, but there's a little, on the bottom of Instagram, there is a little card with a question mark, and you just throw your comments in there, and then I can get to them when I get back, because it might scroll up and I might lose it. So, homeostatic capacity, very, very important. You want to challenge the system so then you function better. The atomic vibration, the nature of the atomic vibration and the homeostatic capacity go hand in hand, because you want to challenge the system, but you also want to recover the system. That's really important. You can't just go, go, go. Whenever I travel and I live with these indigenous cultures, their lives are very different than us in so many ways. But one of the ways that they're different than us is the amount they do in the day. This one tribe I was with in Brazil, in the Amazon jungle, they would wake up, around sunrise. They would either hunt that day, or maybe they would hunt that evening, or they skip a day, and then they play a lot of music, they do a lot of rituals, and then they end up playing soccer. And that's their day. And that's all they do. And that's sort of what we're designed for. And since we developed agriculture and our civilization, we've been progressing away from that. And so we've been leaving this time becoming busier and busier, and it's actually affecting our bodies. We're becoming weaker because of it. And so making your overall body stronger is so vitally important to every aspect of your health, so you have to challenge it. One of the biggest supports for the immune system is sleep. Not only because you're resting your body, but there are healing processes the body goes through when you're sleeping that doesn't happen when you're awake. So the one I mentioned yesterday, the apoptosis, the purging of dormant or old cells. And the body goes through it and gets rid of them. Because when these clusters of cells, of dormant cells, band together, it becomes cancerous. So we all have spotted with cancer, but it's not dangerous to us because it hasn't clustered together. It's only when it clusters together that it overwhelms our system and takes control of it, and then taps in to our nutrients and grows itself and takes it away from the body. So we want to prevent that by being as healthy as possible. Other things that suppress your immune system, sodas, sugars, a lot of carbohydrates, alcohol, And I'm not saying not to have these, but you want to make sure your system is strong enough to be able to handle them and to be able to filter them. I actually think doing those things to your body sometimes are a challenge to the body, and you want to challenge the body. If you eat super cleanly all the time, if you have a situation where you have to eat differently, your body's not going to be able to handle it. So just to consider that, I'm not suggesting that you go one way or another, but just to understand that. So you definitely want to boost the immune system, you want to challenge homeostatic capacity, and you want to rest and recover. That's going to keep you the healthiest. There's been studies that showed, and actually on the Wim Hof site, he talks about this study where through mindfulness, through breath work, and through cold exposure, people were able to boost the macrocytes in their body, which are the white blood cells that fight foreign particles that shouldn't be there. So we know through these very simple challenges that everyone has access to, that we can actually boost our immune system. The white blood cells can actually be boosted. And so that there's a higher count from this, from the mindfulness, from the breath work, and from cold exposure. Mindfulness is a part that I want to talk about too, because that can alleviate stress. So we generate the stressful thoughts, or we see something stressful and we get a chemical response. Our body releases hormones or neurotransmitters. So it's in our mind that that's produced. So mindfulness is the study of being aware of what you're producing. So if you practice meditation or some other mindfulness technique, you can actually calm that down and stop being stressed and then boosting the immune system. The other thing about mindfulness is the placebo effect. There are hundreds of thousands of studies showing the power of placebo effect. One of my favorite ones is a study done in Scandinavia where they had a group who did knee surgery. That was the control group. They actually did knee surgery. And there was the group studying where they didn't do the surgery, they just did the incisions. So the surgeon cut them. They stayed in the room the same time, so their family didn't know if they did the surgery. They didn't know if they did the surgery. The only people who knew were the doctors. They had almost the same recovery rate. Same success from surgery, almost exactly the same. Which shows how powerful that placebo effect is, the belief. So that's why it's so important to also be mindful, practice mindfulness, practice meditation, so then you can have control over these systems. There are other really incredible studies out there which you guys can see, which things like controlling our heart rate through our mind, which can, or our breath as well, can slow our stress, so our adrenals. We stress our adrenals constantly, and that is a suppressant from to the immune system. So some simple hacks, and if you go to my Instagram a few posts back, there's actually a little slide that has some healthy things that can supplement you. Like garlic is one of the strongest natural antibiotics. Fermented food is very important for our microbiomes. That's why everyone's consuming so much now. We're starting to understand. In the last year, a couple of years, microbiomes have been started to talk about. That's the bacteria in our gut. And that's when we start to understand how important bacteria is. There's even a book out, I forgot the name of it now, but talks about how we're really a housing for bacteria. There's been studies in mice and humans with fecal transplant. So they take the bacteria and they do a fecal transplant